And that was an amazing segue into the next segment of the show. It is now time for our discussion. All of our amazing performers, they've come in once again and done their thing. They've come in once again, not only showed up and showed out, but showed inwards, showed to themselves just how amazing that they can be and how much that they can elevate their own artistry. So to everyone, Tone, I am my Supernatural Cee, to myself, we are an amazing unit, and everything that we can create as a unit is extremely powerful. So let's get in. All shay, all praises to the first question of our discussion. And we're going to do it open ended to where I pose the question and then we just have some dialogue for 15 to 20 minutes talking about what we think, what we feel. And we can definitely all talk about what we think and what we feel. We have a combination of feminine and masculine perspective. So we're able to get both sides of the spectrum, always have that balance in what we talk about. So here's the first question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And what is the worst piece of advice you've ever received? So, open ended, best piece and worst piece. We're just going to say the best and worst pieces real quick, and then we're going to discuss why they've been our best and worst pieces just overall as a group. So, Tone, what is the best and worst piece of advice you've ever received?
I can answer this however I see fit, right?
Absolutely.
I can't say that I have any one particular advice that was so outstanding that it stuck. I'm like a student of like learning. So I watch people, I watch things, I learn from situations that happen. And I could just listen to two people having a conversation and pick up and say, I could use that, or that's necessary, or that,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm that type of person. So I would say, as far as like my best advice that I've received is just being present, just being present in the moment. I could receive all kinds of excellent advice and things to take. And as far as worse, again, I don't. It goes right over my head if it doesn't make sense. If it's not, for me, like, there are things that
Mm-hmm.
I have followed behind people doing, and it didn't come out right, and I know not to do that again, or things like that. But again, not anything that could stand out. Usually if it like goes right over my head, I just feel like that doesn't even make sense. Like, that's, and I won't even think about it after the conversation's over. So that's me.
Okay. And I am my best and worst piece of advice.
So for me, the best piece of advice I've ever received is to never give up on myself. And
Mm-hmm.
the worst piece is that I should stop creating music because of my age.
The disrespect. Yeah, whoever said that, no, no, no,
Right. We
thank
get
you.
better with time, right?
Hmm. Creativity stops at an, oh yeah, that's terrible. Just to stop creating any, that's just terrible. Yeah, that'll do it. Supernatural Cee. What about you? The best and worst piece of advice.
I think the best piece of advice, which I always hang on to, it did change my. It was a paradigm shift. It changed my thinking. A friend of
Mm-hmm.
mine at university said to me, "You're always wound up." My
Mm-hmm.
parents were divorcing at the time, and there was a lot going on. But he was like, "Every time I say to you, are you okay? There's a problem." And it really opened my eyes. I like shook me into reality that that's true. My perspective is negative. And the worst piece of advice, so yeah, his advice was relax, calm down. And I
Mm-hmm.
did. The worst piece, I think, in a previous relationship, somebody said to me, you would be perfect if, yeah, that
Ooh.
part, right? You
Yeah, I
would
would
be
be
perfect.
perfect if I left you.
Yeah, that's what I should have said, but I didn't. I stayed.
Hmm.
But
Oh.
obviously, don't ever change yourself for anybody. And if anybody's telling you you'd be great if you just do this, like the Goddess Anahata said, goodbye.
Wow, powerful, powerful. Mary, the best and worst piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say the best is do what you love. And the worst, now this is depending on what it is, what it's pertaining to, but follow the rules. Always follow the rules.
Yeah. Sometimes they always don't apply.
No. Nope. If I followed the rules all the time, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So
exactly. Oh yeah, I'm with that. Let me think before we get into thoughts and deeper expression. My best and worst piece of advice you've ever received. Worst piece of advice, I'll follow the structure of my own question. The best piece of advice I've ever received is be okay with being misunderstood. And that it took me to a whole different level, because for my entire life, I'm sitting here, well, I'm relatable. Well, you can come to, well, you can, and it's not gonna work. Is for a lot of people, they're just not going to receive you and want to understand you, especially the more complex that you are and the deeper that your soul goes. And once I made peace with that, I'm able to move in just a way more objective way. Okay. Worst piece of advice. Just do everything in the moment. Worst piece because it didn't put me in a spot to really prepare and look forward for things. Not that super over planning is a good thing, but when you only are very frivolous and are just doing everything right then and there, then you're not helping prepare yourself for anything else. So, we definitely have some interesting best and worst pieces. And I also love the way Tone put it, because you just pick up a lot of things. You keep what resonates and then you kind of discard what doesn't. So I really had to think about what the worst pieces are. And I know we've all heard some very out of pocket things. Like, what are you even talking about out your mouth? So to go in those archives, it can be a little difficult to really pick out the things that we just tossed away in the first place. So now I want to hear just where everybody's mind is. What have you heard so far? And I see Tone, she's cooking up. So what you cooking up?
No, because I stand on what I said, but after hearing somebody, like there has been some absurd ones that, you know what I'm saying, that kind of like, oh yeah. But my gosh, to anybody, to tell somebody that they should stop doing something that they love because of their age is, it's like the biggest, you don't believe something, so you're trying to push your disbelief onto me and make that my reality. Like, how could you, like, it's what I love. And that's the thing about being an individual, and people don't respect individuality. Like, whatever your thing is, if you feel like, oh, after a certain age, I want to be caught doing this, then that's you and that's your belief. Right. But if somebody loves something, anything, it doesn't matter. Like, people become movie stars and singers and stuff at 50, 55. You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is consistency, not your age. So that right there was like a preposterous thing I heard. To tell somebody that you would be perfect if, is so many red flags on it's like a bag of red flags, because first of all, nobody's perfect. So to sit there and say that somebody would be perfect in this is like something's wrong with your head already. But then to say, if, what's wrong with you? You want me to change something? What are you willing to give me? Like, why do I always have to change and conform to make a person feel like you're good enough, or now you're good, now you're right? Maybe you're just not for me. So you could just go ahead about your business, because anything I don't feel perfect or, well, quote unquote perfect in, that's something that needs to resonate with me, that I need to work on within myself, not for you, but for me, for the betterment of everyone around me, not for you. You know what I'm saying? So that one was crazy. That one was crazy also. But also in hindsight, the good stuff, the good advice it's always good because do what you love, like being consistent and those things, those are all important. So I think too, like there were some really good ones and there's some really outrageous ones. But I just want to tell everybody, just do what you love and always follow your heart and follow like what makes you happy. Because as an individual, our universe revolves around each and every one of us. My universe revolves around me, yours, and we're supposed to do what makes our hearts happy so that that translate in the world around us. So don't dim yourself. Don't, oh, I can't do this because someone, nah, man. Just every time somebody tries to feed you something negative, use that as fuel to go harder. And that's what I have to say
Ah,
about that.
no, I agree. You hit something on the head right there because it's like even the worst piece of advice could serve its purpose, right? It's all dependent on how it's received. So I could let it stop me or I could let it fuel what I got going on. And that's what I heard like from what we shared is like nobody stopped doing or being themselves. It's like, okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but nah, that's not how I'm gonna operate. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's a reason why the arts in particular and those areas, they like young people. There's a reason why the music industry likes young people because they are easier to manipulate. In no other area of life do they tell you the older you get and the more time you put into it, the less you should take it out to the world. Like IMI said, you know, the years he's been doing it makes him a more seasoned, experienced artist. But the music industry likes young, malleable minds, controllable entities. When you're in your 40s, you can't, it's much more difficult to tell anybody anything. Do you know what I mean? You know, but we, you know, and I think the other thing that I just wanted to say in regards to this is that when you're in those spiritual places, what we know as facts, when you're a spiritual being, is that nobody's advice is that relevant. The only advice is your own. You seek counsel with through meditation, through prayer, and then people around you may speak those divine words. They may be your divine messenger, sorry, which is why I think we keep being in alignment because we're meant to give each other certain messages to speed up each other's growth. So the whole concept of even asking people for advice is a flawed concept because what we should be teaching our children is when you're stuck, meditate. When you're stuck, sit down and pay attention to what it is you're stuck on and why you're stuck and what different avenues you could take to resolve it. But going and asking anybody is a flawed concept because they're going to give you the answer from their perspective through their filters. They are not the most high.
That was a powerful message. And with what you said, Supernatural C, I'm so major and huge on having a council. When I say council, I have a selected amount of people, and currently it is 3, and I've just added a 4th to my council for certain situations. If I'm not consulting them for their perspective, if I would like an additional perspective, then it's consulting myself. I'm praying, that is me consulting with the Most High and the universal order, and then it's consulting the God that is within me. So if it's not those physical bodies or myself, I'm kind of good on your opinion. Not that I'm not open to receive if it's something that could potentially be helpful, but seeking outside of self for word is law can only put you in a position that won't be the most optimal versus the most optimal position. If you are lightly open to suggestions and perspective, of course, keep that open mind. But if you really need that answer, that only comes from within. And like you were saying, Supernatural C, sitting down with self, where are you stuck? What is going on? Take the time to break it down and decode it. Start from square one if you have to. Bring it all the way down to the root, because you can even take advice given to you and it may not work because you haven't broken down the root yet. And they can't break down the situation for you because only you know what that is. So I love how you said that.
Thank you. Can I add something really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think this is where the balance of masculine and feminine comes in. And it just resonated to me that when I really need to seek counsel, I generally seek it from men, because I've got a lot of women around, and I'm usually deep in my feminine. I'm usually in a deep emotional state, and me in a deep emotional state is either crying or angry, and I need the logic of a man. So when I generally, if I seek counsel, it's a male, and it's like you say, there's probably 3, maybe 4 that I'll speak to, and I know that they love me and they're going to give it me direct, and
exactly,
whether I like it or not, you know. Which is the beautiful thing about masculine as well, is that logical mind will just give it you, whereas a woman might fluff it up with stuff and you might lose the message. But a man's going to tell you it how you need to hear it, and I think that is superbly valuable for all women. I know I need divine masculine guidance sometimes. Yeah.
Yes. Like, oh my gosh, don't make sense to me right now. That's not what I wanted, but you know you need it. Getting that masculine perspective. Oh, okay. Gosh darn it. Yeah, you make perfect sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then you just go and you feel some type of way about it, but you know is the beautiful message exactly that you needed. So then after you take the emotion out of what you received, wow, this was the perfect logical answer. So, I'm heavy on that too. Definitely, definitely. And before we go to the next question, okay, I'll leave it open-ended for just a second. Are there any final thoughts? Because while we're in this flow, I want to make sure that everybody can get that final thought out while we're in this flow. Is everybody good? Any final thoughts? Okay. So this next question is a very abstract question. And when I heard it, this is not originally from me, forget the source, but when I heard this question, I knew, no, I do remember the source. This was an interview from Will Smith. So I used his question to pose here that somebody asked him. If you could make a law that everyone had to follow, what would it be? It was from a Jay Shetty interview where he interviewed Will Smith on this question. So if you could make a law that everyone had to follow, what would it be? Go for it, IMI.
So it would be that everyone would have to take personal time to reconnect with self and nature without devices on a weekly basis. The amount of time is like you choose for yourself what you need. You take that time. But once a week, everybody, with no phone, no smartwatch, nothing. Just you and nature, whether it be hiking or just sitting by a body of water, however you do it, just reconnect with self and nature.
Such a peaceful answer. I love that, and so vital. Oh my goodness. Now let me ask real quick. Being in New York and everything, Tone, how much nature do y'all have over there? Because I don't think it's a lot of nature.
Nature, the parks.
It depends. It depends on where you at. So in my backyard,
Long Island.
I'm in Staten Island, and there's a pond in my backyard.
Yeah.
So does your law abstractly, is it a deep space in nature or just anything that you can find that's some type of grounding in nature?
Right. So where you can find
yeah, anything that you can find. Okay.
Right.
Okay. The next one. What are we thinking? A law everyone has to follow. Y'all pondering?
I would say, I'm sorry if you guys can hear it, but it's
no, go ahead.
I think that if I could make, I see there's so many. I'm not gonna lie. Like I could already make 10, but I would say that I would say that like everybody would have to journal, right? Everybody would have to journal, and either weekly or monthly, like everybody would have to find 3 things that they find themselves accountable for that has transpired in that time, in that month, or in that time. You know what I'm saying? So because I feel like a big issue in our world is like the people who have the capacity, because I understand that there are people who are not like mentally sound or whatever. So I guess this law would be for anybody with the mind capacity or ability to do so. Like to be able to take accountability, to be able to reflect, to be able to sit down and be with self, and understand that where there's areas to grow, and like being able to look at that. I think that that's an important feat that people do not take the time to have. And I believe that when you are accountable for things that happen in your life, it is so much easier to change those things, or to be mindful of those things, present with those things, so that those things don't keep showing up over and over and over in your life. So that's why I feel like accountability, some way for people to be held accountable in that way.
That's good.
That's one. But I have a lot of laws I would make.
Not surprising, Cynthonia. Don't let Cynthonia get into power, yeah, because we'll be living a very tight life. I think my one is I struggled with it for a minute, and I think what really bothers me is that you can have the super rich and the super poor, and I don't want to sound like a communist, but I think there's something about people getting the financial reward for what they actually do, rather than, so I don't think it's right that you can be an actor and make 100 times more than a surgeon. Like that don't make no sense to me. Do you know what I mean? I think teachers, anyone that's in a caring profession, those jobs are so hard. You've got people physically aiding people, putting them on the toilet, washing them, wiping them down, you know, doing some seriously hard work, and they're at the lowest pay scale. And then you've got people that do 5 minutes work and they're billionaires for whatever reason. So yeah, I think for me it would be something around equity and people that actually work the hardest. Say that again, Mary Love.
Oh no, I was saying you froze for a minute.
Oh, did I?
But you're back. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Thank you. Yeah, so just the people that actually work. I don't know how it would ever be figured out or judged, but get paid for what you do rather than this unequitable, crazy system where you're actually rewarded in some ways for in some areas for being terrible. You know.
Yeah.
I just thought of something what you said to the point of caregivers being paid what they should be paid substantially, because our system does not value life. You know, with the pharmaceutical, they don't want us to turn to natural care. A few years ago, there was a medical professional who was incarcerated for speaking out against something that happened, and you know, just not sure what happened to them. You know, yeah. So since life really is not valued, I believe that's why they don't get the pay that they deserve. You know, I have people in my family who are caregivers, and you know, go above and beyond. Actually, you know, some of them don't. You know, I mean, I would never have put my mom in a nursing home, and then you know, living out of state, of course, too. You know, I told her I always wanted to have a house where I was like, well, you have to have your own, you know, your own suite or something, because my mom liked to collect so much stuff. But yeah, it's just, I just thought of that as you were speaking. Like, I just feel like because life really is not valued, you know, it's entertainment. It's what can keep us distracted from what's really happening, you know. If we're healthy and healing and whole and eating well and, you know, at our optimal state of mind and consciousness, you know, this will be a different world, right? They wouldn't be able to get away with things. Certain things would not be happening, for sure.
Yeah, and I want to say that, you know, for all of us, I'm sure everybody has a story of some kind of caregiver that the level of love that they can, because it's not a money thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
You meet some of the best people in these places.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll never forget. It still to this day just warms my heart when my daughter was having her operation when she was 11 months. No, she was 7 months, and I was pregnant with my second, and I had to stay overnight in the hospital. And the nurses, because I had morning sickness and I was mashed down, so exhausted, and I was breastfeeding, morning sickness, pregnant, and they made me a bed, and they tended to me. They tended to me like I was their patient, and they didn't have to do any of that.
Right.
But it was just pure love and empathy that created that. And I will never forget it, because I just think you just didn't have to do it. And that gentle touch, what that did for me in that moment, you know. So caring professionals, wherever they are, they're some of the highest level people.
Yes, they are.
You know, and the cleaners, the people that take care of our environment, and society teaches us to look down on them, which is absurd.
And Mary, have you thought of a law that everyone would have to follow?
So this is a nice segue into what I was going to say.
Okay.
I would have in place that would have to be a daily practice. Every day you would have to practice and show some form of love to someone you don't know. Because it's easy to show that, well, no. And sometimes it's not easy to show it to people that we know. But some act of love with strangers. Love and care and empathy and compassion. Because so much of that is missing. And every day I just come across the lack of compassion and love. And you know, it's disappointing, especially when you're going through something at your highest point of sensitivity in your emotional state, your mental state. And you never know what somebody's going through. So I always try to keep that in mind. Even more so now, I'm even more aware of it because I'm going through the loss of my mom. So, you know, and I want to say to your point, Caroline, with some of the people in the hospital and the rehab facilities, they were so nice. And a lot of them, because it was California, the Bay Area, a lot of them were Filipino. And we were actually having this conversation yesterday about just how there's other races and ethnic groups who are very loving toward elders. But Americans, a lot of Americans just aren't raised that way, and we're losing that. A lot of us, you know, in the older generation, you know, our age group, even some younger people, but a lot of younger people I come across, they're just so rude to elders. And our elders, like, just to give a quick example, I was at Family Dollar, and there was a lady, a couple people ahead of me. Right, she had a basket, hand basket of stuff, and this older gentleman, clearly somebody who could have been her grandfather, he stepped in front of her. So I came on the line when this exchange was just happening. So I didn't see him do it. But she was going in on him, this older man, and he only had 2 items and she had a whole basket full of things. But she made this big deal, speaking loud, being disrespectful. She didn't curse him out, but she was just like, you know, you see the line is at the end, and why you step in front of me? And he's like, well, I only have 2 things. And he was like, and I'm not going on the line, right? So I'm just standing there like, how's this going to turn out? And I was going to say something, but I didn't. So, you know, after the older gentleman went to the cash register, there was a younger man behind her. Now, he could have said something during that whole exchange, but he waited till after to like indirectly say something to the young lady. So he's like, you know, some people are just so mean, and then, you know, and she turned around and she just like, she looked, and I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go? So I was just quiet, and I'm like, you know, I don't do that, because if I see that if I happen to turn around, I try to be very aware too of my surroundings, where I'm at, especially now with people coming in and you don't know if something's going to happen. So if I turn around and I see an older person, and whether they have more of me than not or not, I'll offer them to come in front of me. So I try to always give respect to but that's, you know, to say that the people in the facilities, the hospital, the rehab facility, but I was always there, so maybe that's why too. But you could kind of tell like who's naturally really like that, and whoever wasn't as attentive as I needed them to be with my mom, then I would let them know. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, she received great care in her last couple months, and you know, I really appreciated that. So I think I feel like that's what would have to be a daily practice. Love, showing love.
So love is everything to me. That's why I name myself what I name myself. And I think that that's a beautiful law. And not that it's a forgotten art, but making it intentional even helps people learn. If you have to show some type of act every single day, then that's what gets hardwired into your habits and becomes who you are. And my law is a bit on the direct extreme side. It's a direct, momentous, immediate response to karmic law. That which you do unto others gets done to you. And that would allow people to be much more conscious and aware of how they treat people or the things that they do. If you decide that you want to crash out, is crash out used in the UK?
Well, tell me what it means. I think we mean
okay.
the same.
Basically, if you want to go off the deep end and just kind of start behaving in a really awful way, if one day you're good, then the next day you decide you want to go do something crazy, or if you decide you just want to blow up and have no more common sense with your life, and now you just want to be this really type of awful person to whatever degree, you've crashed out because you went off course of who you are and just decided to go all the way left. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's I that.
Out, so yeah,
but
I crashed out.
Yeah,
I crashed and burned this.
And you came back, but on a major scale, if somebody they decide they want to do something crime-ish related, it's gonna happen to you. You can't take from somebody and think that you're gonna be able to use that money. It's gonna get taken from you. You can't decide that you want to go behave this way or do this action thinking that there's no consequences. Your consequences aren't coming later. Your consequences are going to come right now. So that will make people very conscious of things that they do, because they know that it's coming directly back to whatever degree you did what you did. It's coming back. So the most extreme thing that we can all think of that I'm going to not bring up for the sake of the show, but that you want to do that, you want to unexist some people, then you might get unexisted, and that's unfortunate, but that's the choice that you chose.
But poof, you are God.
I have a question now, because first, like up until I'm like, I co-sign this one. I take mine back and I want to jump on this one with you. But now, would there have to be like some type of intention behind it? Because what if somebody is, but I guess that you would have to learn how to love, right? Because what if somebody does something like, are your child, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, or did something that made you like, what if your actions towards doing something towards somebody was in, but then yeah, I guess you have to learn
Yeah.
self-control and love, I guess, right? That's
Because what happens is that's gonna directly happen to them. So if you can learn that for yourself, to just have that self-control long enough not to retaliate on that thing, that law of immediate karma is gonna come right back on them. So that justice is gonna happen in the exact same level.
okay. I think yeah, I'm signing
Mm-hmm.
your bill. I'm signing your
Yeah,
bill into effect.
is that exact same level. So if you can
Yeah.
hold off and said they did this, so I'm
That
about to
same
go try
energy.
to on them, the
No.
universe is already going to take care of that. So you don't
Yeah.
have to. And it's not any type of injustice level. Somebody did something crazy and they're not getting that exactly back. So they're not understanding the dynamic. So now everybody's so super conscious. Is this worth it? Whatever I do, is it worth it? Because it's not like you're going to be able to have it or keep it. So what's it really worth to you?
Right.
So
And
then
I like,
everybody, thank you. They get to move in love. And then it goes back to everyone else's law, because now you have to ground. Now you have to journal. Now you have to love. Now you have to make sure that you're getting exactly the energy that you put in. So if you're putting in a lot of hard work and energy into something good, you're getting that output. So all four of your laws, they tie in so well because they're that positive side. And once you can focus there, then you know, okay, let me not do this thing because everything else is in so much accordance. So all of our laws
That's
really
great.
aligned into each other, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add that I saw an interview
Yeah.
the other day with a celebrity, and
Mm-hmm.
she was going on about, I don't know if I won't name names, but she
Mm-hmm.
was talking about stealing money. So the interviewer was asking her, I heard that you stole this and you stole that. And she was
Mm-hmm.
laughing about it. And I
Mm.
just thought, you look like a demon. For you to sit there and glorify and justify that you just robbed someone's stuff, you know, and have no remorse and make a joke out of it. And now she's a celebrity and she's got all this money. So the message to these younger people is that you can do that and get away with it. I just thought this is absolutely disgusting. You know what I mean? But the reality, as you say, is she will have got the karma. And if she hasn't got it, she's going to get it. But like you're saying, you know, the way it works in reality is a slower. It's not immediate, is it?
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people think that they get away with it because it might be their next life that has to pay, or they pay way farther down the line and don't realize it. So people aren't understanding the dynamic of the consequences of their adverse actions, which then becomes crazy. So it moves on its own universal pace. And then
Right.
people, they don't get it. But no, you're going to get that right now.
Right.
No
Immediate
delays.
justice.
Mm-hmm. No
Immediate.
holdups. Definitely.
I was laughing because I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, that's oh yeah," because there's so many times I wish I could.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where you would like
Yes.
to, and then you have that self-control, but then you would like it
Right.
to still be just
Mm-hmm.
serve justice.
Yeah.
You're like, dang, I know the universe is going to take care of it, but I know they're going to just going to take care of it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you just gotta eat that.
Makes me think of
Hmm.
the real judge and jury is self.
Hmm.
And that unless somebody is a psychopath or a sociopath or there's a chemical imbalance, they have to
Hmm.
deal with the guilt of themselves. Do you know what I mean? So the way the
Hmm.
universe and its divinity works, and when if you've done something and you know how it's that wrong, and you believe or you're aware of the karmic retribution that is going to come, but you
Hmm.
don't know when it's going to come, in a way that's a harsher punishment because then they got to walk around going, when's it gonna I did that thing, it's coming for me at some point. Do you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
in some regards I can see how, because I think that really is again a big life lesson is that the Most High teaches me this every day, that what I want isn't, I'm not that intelligent, is probably the best way to put it, is that the universe is way more intelligent than me, and it will time it when it needs to time it. You get what I'm saying? But I do like your idea of immediate retribution. I do love that. I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're at the final stretch of the show. These are our last two questions. And these last two questions are even deeper than the first two questions. And the first two questions really took us on a journey. Now, this one requires a lot of introspection. To go with the theme of never the fool. You are never going to be who you were as long as you continue to choose betterment in the best version of whoever you are in your particular stage of life. So, this third question is choose an age when you needed you the most. What advice would you give to that younger version of you?
Can I go first? Because
Absolutely.
my meditations are specific to this right now in my
Mm-hmm.
life. Like I do 45-minute meditations every night
Mm-hmm.
for this particular. I need myself right now. I need myself
Mm.
right now. Um, and how that looks for me is in my meditation, I go and I meet my younger self. And every night that we talk, meditation is like 45 minutes, but I get like maybe like a good like 10-15 minutes. It's like a loss of time, like, but it feels like that about that long that I'm like talking to her. And I'm just telling her like how important she really was, and the the way that she had to guard and protect herself, and the reason why she had to do those things, giving her an understanding of, you know, other people and why they were responding to that, and how, what I'm saying, her perspective and how she looked out on the world, like, brought these things onto her. But I go back and I have to tell her every day how important she is and how much love she is, and how much I need her now. And the reason being is because I need my younger self to be to get healed, to understand something, so that she gets healed, so that she could experience newer things, so that I can in turn now grow. Because right now I feel like I'm stagnant in certain areas of my life, where my younger self needs to heal and develop so that I could grow. So right now in this very moment, I need my younger self to know that she was amazing, that she was dope, and that she's vital and important right now, and that there's so much that she has to experience so that I can experience more. So that's
Ooh, thank you for that level of vulnerability that you just decided to incorporate us into, and everyone who's going to see this, and you allowing yourself that space to express without any type of restrictions. All praises, all praises. Oh, yeah. Who has come to their knowing yet? Well, what's that age? Who would like to express next? I
I'll
see some
go
thoughts.
ahead. I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So, in around about my late teens, early to mid 20s,
Mm-hmm.
I was inebriated a lot, almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
That time I needed me the most. And I would, if I could offer the advice at that time to myself, I would tell myself, like, life is just as fun, if not more fun, with a sober mind.
Mm-hmm.
You get to be aware and
Mm-hmm.
fully be in the moment. And
Mm-hmm.
you remember it, because I blacked out a lot. So, yeah.
And those times can really, it'll put you in this type of purgatory. Like, what even happened in my life? And those experiences, I called myself having fun, but did I? What was actually going on to where I could have truly expressed that? And I've had scenarios like that as well. Like, what happened here? What was any of this for? Honestly. And so that level of power speaks to so many people, and how that experience is so many people's experience, but for different reasons and on different levels. And I love what you said, that you would even say to your younger self that life is just as fun, if not more fun, with that sober conscious mind, to be able to experience what's around you versus picking up on the energies that you don't need, with having the spirits in you taken over from the inebriation. That was powerful for sure. Mm. Now, Mary or Supernatural C, what's going in your mind? Yeah.
You want to go, Caroline?
No, you go, Sue.
Okay. I was trying to think of it. At first, I was thinking like my early 20s, but no, it started when I was like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would always try to comfort me, but she raised me by herself. So being young, that was hard because I would see my schoolmates with both of their parents, or, I would be sad a lot because, I felt like I wasn't important or special because my dad wasn't in my life, chose not to be in my life. And I remember one particular night, and I had to be I was 6 or 7, because I remember we lived in this one particular apartment. And she, I was just crying. She was just comforting me and holding me. And I don't remember what she said, but I know it was, something positive. I'm like, man, I know that had to be so hard for my mom, because but she never talked bad about him until I was older, which was surprising too. But that was good though. She always she told me she wanted me to formulate whatever opinion as I got older. So I appreciate that. But what I would say to my little girl self is that, your dad not being in your life does not define who you are. That does not mean you are not special and unique and beautiful and worthy and, of love. And, it does not mean that. You are amazing. You're a bright light. You're needed, So I'm sure my mother had said all those things, but it's different when you're a child. You don't understand.
All right.
So just now I'm good, but I had a moment in my 20s or whatever, where I wasn't making the right decisions with choosing. I'm gonna just keep it real, shit. Choosing who to lay down with. You know what I mean? So, and even though my mom would talk to me, I needed my father. A woman needs her father to show those experiences of what type of men you need to be choosing, to wait, to be intimate with someone, what to look for when you're looking to align with a mate. Yes, your mom can tell you that, but there's things that need to come from a man's perspective. Like you said, Caroline, we need that male perspective when we're seeking consultation, just a different perspective from the feminine. So I went through a phase, even in my 20s, where I was just so resentful. The self-love wasn't there, the self-awareness, and I can look back at that now. And, I did some things that my mom would not be proud of. But, I am who I am. And when it's time to share those particular stories or whatever, or, to even get deeper with it, I think about like, what would happen if I run into this certain male now and they see me now and who I am and where I'm at in my life and where I'm at in my walk. And people change. And I am who I always was. I have become who I was intended to become. I'm on the right path. Yeah, maybe those things weren't supposed to happen, but maybe they were. So, you know, I'm not ashamed of anything. And if anybody comes to me and tries to say anything like, well, you don't know who I am now. And I'm very proud of who I am now. And I can hold my head high as I always did, you know, but now even more so. So yeah, I needed that journey, every step of my journey. I'm no longer mad at my father, but I choose not to have a relationship with him because he hasn't grown. And I can't be around him or talk to him. There's certain things that do trigger me, but I no longer have like that hate and that resentment. But I have said to the universe, I don't want to come back to him with him in this next life, because I probably will have to come back. But if I have to come back, I don't want to be connected with him. Whatever he's got to learn, it's gonna have to be with another soul. I don't want it to be with me. I don't feel like I need that. I don't need that. I don't need to go back to that. I've learned my lesson.
You're ascended.
Yeah. So, thank you.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that you even knew to now in your life revisit just that younger version of you and go so far back into the root of what it is, like what we were talking about earlier. When you only know your roots, you can know what needs to be plucked, where are the weeds, what roots need to be nurtured and watered, when it's time to repot that plant because it's grown too much and you've grown so much. So you're no longer that little plant and you're able to just still tend to that version of you. All praises. Amazing, amazing. Supernatural Cee, what about you?
Well, I resonate with everybody. Everybody's just hit it on the head. I resonate with Cynthonia right now. I resonate with I, and I know them drunken states and those inebriated states. Been there, done that. That's quite common as well amongst young people, our age group as well. Just young people, full stop, going a bit wild. And yeah, absolutely. And I definitely resonate with what Mary just said as well, in terms of not really having that male love and guidance and role modeling, and then being a female out there in the world not really fully understanding her worth or how men are. So I think there's two ages. I'm going to try and speed through it. The first was at age 7, and my younger sister, I'm sharing this, I pray that it doesn't bother her that I'm sharing it, but she was really ill. And now what I know in regards to child development, 7 years old was huge in terms of me in my development. And something that I realized, I was looking through, I'm writing this book and I was looking through photographs to put in the book. And I could see the difference in me. I could see me prior to 7 and me post 7. And post 7, I looked depressed. And it made me think about my mom's friend who used to always go to me. She used to always come and massage my eyebrows and say, pick up your eyebrows, right? Because what she was saying was that I was like this, right? And I used to think, what are you talking about? But it changed. It absolutely shifted my perspective on the world at 7 years old. It brought into sharp view that people can die, that something can happen overnight and shift your world. And what was in parallel with that was my intuition, because I came out of school and she wasn't there. And I remember knowing fully something's wrong. And when I got home and they told me what was wrong, I was crying on the way home, and my auntie Lorna, that I've mentioned before, just picked me up and just walked around the house with me. Right, I'm bawling my eyes out. I don't even logically know what's going on. And the juxtaposition of that was my dad stomping around the house. God knows what his problem was. He's stomping around the house having some like emotional meltdown over it. But yeah, I would tell my 7-year-old self that it's going to be okay, and that people, not everybody's going to die. You don't have to be afraid of people dying. That was something that was embedded in me from the age of 7 and took a long time to come out of my system. And then the other age where I would say is, I think, when I became a single parent and when that relationship broke down and I had to take over. And I would go back in time and say to myself, you can do it, you will do it. And not only will you do it, you smash this thing. Because the level of fear at the time, and then, you know, it's a level of trauma where you're not just dealing with yourself, you're dealing with these two little people. And I think I feel guided to say this. And we had the conversation the other day that one of the reasons for staying together was the children and not wanting to mash up their world. And the mad thing was, like 2 nights after he'd gone, I said to them, are you okay? And you know what they said to me, which was the divine confirmation. It's great, mommy, because it's peaceful. All those arguments, all that tension in the air, right? Those little beings felt it and knew it and were able to verbalize to me at the time that this is better because it's peaceful. And that was it for me. I was like, right decision. No going back. So I would tell my 20s, my how old was I? 35 at the time, 10 years ago. I would tell my 35-year-old self, you got this thing. Do not ever doubt yourself.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Actually, even first, the different age choosing dynamics of each of you when you feel like you needed you. And then second, even with this one, knowing that you still, you still needed you in such a deep, profound way, even at an age that most people would say you got it all figured out and you're experienced and these are the things that you should know. Who said that? No, you just had to take that time with you and still let you know what was best because it wasn't just what was affecting you. You took an outward view on what is also affecting the two little spirits that you love the most and what it's doing to them. And then what's the best thing that you should do. And it's almost as if looking out for them helped you look out for you because of what choices may you have made if you did not have their best interest at heart or if you didn't love them so deeply, because there are a lot of mothers that don't, but you're one of the ones that do, and that helped propel you forward into even creating some of the most peace you've ever had. Well, that's amazing, amazing, powerful.
Thank you, sis.
Absolutely. All praises to the Most High for all 4 of your journey, honestly. And to everyone who will listen, think about these questions and even all praises to your own journey and where you are now and when you needed you. And even as I think about mine, there, of course, are a few, like a lot of us, but if you have to pick one, I'll pick to go to the root, or I could go to this one right here, and it was age 1920, something like that. This is the time when I began to behave hypermasculine, very out of my element, because I did not feel safe around the ones around me. Even the guys that were around me, they had many of the negative feminine traits. So I said, okay, somebody got to be the dude around here. I guess I'll do it. Or some of the females that I were around, they didn't have self-control, self-awareness, and I'm taking the Cancerian mothering perspective, but then B, somebody got to be the dude around here, so I guess I'll do it. And it just went on a bunch of me taking the protector role for those around me, taking on this very hypermasculine, nonchalant mindset when I was always a very sensitive spirit who wanted to be able to freely express that which I feel and be received and understood and have all of that be cherished. But because there were a lot of unhealed individuals around me, they, one, probably couldn't process that. And then two, nobody was trying to hear that. So then it wasn't safe for me to express any of those things. So then all of that just went into this box until the box got overflown and then covered in a very nonchalant lack of expression, telling myself that I don't care about things that I actually care about, that I don't feel things that I actually feel, so that I could carry this blanket over me that I have a level of indifference that I don't have. I am a sensitive, I am an empath, and I have that. I am extremely divine feminine, and that is what I am. And that is what I love. But in that time, I didn't. So I would tell her, don't compromise that for anything, because the situations that you're putting yourself in and the people that you're around, they're very mid anyway. So you can really just go ahead and get rid of all of them and all of that, and then put yourself in this much safer position for you and be who you are. Just change where you are and who you're around, make your environment better for you so that you can unarm, you can disarm. Because right now you're full armor. You're wearing the medieval armor plus the samurai suit, plus you're wearing the costume. It's heavy. It's a lot. It's hot in here. You're sweating. It's not gonna work. You're tired. So just be that which you are. And that would have even helped those parts of her journey up to now much sooner. I'm grateful I know what I know now, but telling her that in those moments, it felt like eternity when she was experiencing it. So I would tell her to disarm. And in order to disarm, you have to remove you and go let them be miserable over there. And whatever they don't have, they have to figure that out. You cannot do that for them. You're a woman. You cannot be a male for other men. They got to learn that. You cannot be the strong man out the bunch for these women if they want to continue to compromise themselves. That's not your role. Your role is to protect you. Mm-hmm.
Snap, snap, snaps. Nah, 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 nah. Because at the end of the day, what's so true is that
mm-hmm.
this is my life story, and that's ultimately why I ended up going to prison for 10 out of 12 years, is because why am I conforming to the people around me when the people around me are no good for me anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't make any sense that I was trying to conform to be what was more acceptable, or I was forcing myself to be understood in this group, or you know what I'm saying, when this group wasn't for me. Like, it just wasn't for me. I am an empath.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sensitive being. I'm a light being. I'm, you know what I'm saying, I'm all those things. I'm more into spiritual and growth and not into material. I'm not nothing like the people I was trying to be like being in a gang and doing all of this. I'm not into hurting other people like for no reason. So I say all that to say, like, I know just that, like, why was I?
Mm-hmm.
And every time that I do it, every time that I've done it, I'm mature. Of course, I still make mistakes, but nothing along those nothing that bad. But
Mm-hmm.
every time I did do it, growing up when I was younger, I always found myself in some type of trouble or something. Like, either something would happen, or somebody would flip on me, or something bad would happen, or like,
Mm-hmm.
and in the worst case, like, I ended up going to prison. Every time I put myself in a situation and tried to conform to be like those people, instead of removing myself and being around people like myself, and it always ended up bad. So it's just funny you said that, and I could completely relate. That's
The
why.
universe said, "You get it now? You get it now? Do you get it now?" So you keep getting it now. Like, okay, sorry, I got it. I got it. I promise. We're good. Appreciate it. Like, we got it. But no matter how many times it takes, as long as we get it. And that brings us into our last question, very similar to the question before. So if there is an extra contribution, feel free. If not, we'll go with the flow. This one is, what did you learn from one of the most foolish times in your life? And for me, I express what I did learn in that time. Of course, there's a lot, but I'll say that mine was encompassed in my last answer, is that you can literally be who it is you are. And the only thing it's going to take is a decision to put yourself in the environment that's for you so that you can unfold your lotus flower and heal properly. That's it. It's so simple. Stop making it hard. What are you doing? You're making it so difficult for absolutely no reason. And I am finished making things difficult that don't have to be.
Can I just comment on that before I say
Yes.
my bit? That I
Yes.
just think that an empath not being an empath is death for the empath, you know. And it's that your shadow being as bright as strong as your light, which is what I hear in what Cynthonia is saying as well. And that if you don't go through things, people don't listen. So some of the strongest of us have to go through certain things. I never thought that I would be, it was the furthest thing from my vision or potential reality that I would ever be in a domestically violent relationship. And it was something that I used to laugh at people for when I was younger. Like, how could you let a man do that to you? Coming from this strong female world where, you know, my mom, I won't go into it actually, because right. But anyway, but it was something that was so far out of reality. And what I learned was the level of manipulation. What I learned was that actually, a lot of the time, the women that end up in these situations are the strong ones, because there's a medal for the controller in being able to take control of somebody who is strong. There's less achievement in a weaker individual. But in me experiencing that, now I speak with authority about it. Now, when somebody tells me something about it or is seeking counsel, my response is authentic and true and real, as everybody else's experience. So I think there's a whole heap of power. I've felt this from the first conversation I had with Cynthonia. There's so much power in your experience, because you're one of these people that has come through that experience, like, at the top. It can break you or it can strengthen you, and it can strengthen you to a point where you lead with that. So there's a power in you from that experience. And I truly relate to what you said as well, the Goddess Anahata, about having to be masculine. How many women out there have to do that? Because there aren't, the men aren't there. So in order to survive and protect those around you, you don't want to, but you have to man up. You have to grow a pair of balls. Do you know what I mean? That ain't right. But it's a truth for a lot of females. So I love that you've expressed that and expressed it in a way that, you know, I fully relate to that. But what was the question?
The question is, what did you learn from one of the most foolish times in your life?
I'll come back.
Okay.
I just want to just say briefly, because I already said it. So just to reiterate, that, you know, I have learned, like, through following and just kind of basically what you said, the Goddess Anahata. It's like, I don't need to fold myself for other people. I don't need to be in or around people who are not for, I don't want to say not like me, but not for me. And and I, like, basically like just be myself and be true to me, and let the universe be a magnet and pull the people that are meant to be around me, even if they're not all good, because sometimes it's for learning um for learning purposes. But
Mhm.
the whole point is that, in all, in a nutshell, I don't need to conform. I don't need to front. I don't need to wear a mask. I don't need to wear all these different armors. I love that analogy. I don't need all these different armors and costumes and masks and all suffocating my breath. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And me not even be able to look in the mirror and seeing who I really am, because I want all of these different layers of, you know, I don't need to be that for people who are not like that for me. The people who are supposed to be
Mhm.
for me will be attracted to me based off of me being authentic and real with myself. And that's it. It's not as hard as we make it. It's really not. It's really, really not.
Crazy
The
what we
hard
put
part
ourselves
about it,
through.
the hard part about it is that we want to be accepted by all, or we want to be accepted in those places where we don't fit in, because like, I guess in a sense it's like, why don't you understand me? Why you just want to, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, everybody's not for everybody, and that's just,
Mhm.
so that's what I've learned. I've learned to love and to be cool. I've learned to be humble. I've learned to breathe. And I learned that it's okay not to be accepted, understood, or loved by everybody, but to love myself and let everything else come.
Full circle moments from every poem we've listened to, every other question, all of the discussions as a full circle response. Mhm.
Mm.
Mm.
Well done. Well done, perfection.
And I am I. What about you? Whoa.
Yeah. So I learned that sobriety is
Mhm.
highly underrated, and that just breathing intentionally
Mhm.
can take you on a high. I've done some breath work that when I was in it, it's like, yo, almost like an out of body experience. So that's one thing that really stood out to me, even sometimes nowadays, because I don't drink alcohol. I would say I drink water, alkaline, and all that, coconut water. But sometimes I'm out and about in a mix, and people are doing what they do, and it's not a shot to them. It's just like, yo, I see things as they are. The clarity is what I've learned.
Mm. I love that. The clarity, the absolute clarity. You can even observe different people and how what they choose affects them. And then sometimes you can even see and start to pinpoint the energy. Are you just having fun? Or is this for something deeper? Because based on your actions in that state, it looks like there's something deeper. It doesn't really look like this is fun for you. Because I'm all for having fun if it's fun for you, but not if you're
100%.
masking something and then it's not fun anymore, which that is majority of the case. Is if you can indulge calmly every once in a while without taking yourself to this very extreme state because you're hiding from something or running from something, then okay. But if that's not something that's within your realm of control, then maybe you should cut it all the way off so you can get that clarity, like you said. And that clarity is, that part is addictive. When you can finally
Oh
see
yeah.
and think clearly, the clarity is even more addictive, really. Mm.
Hmm.
Oh, I love what you said there. What about you, Mary?
Um, so I would say one particular experience. I was dating this guy who was from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were in a relationship maybe 2, 3 years. Um, I didn't see it then. So me, my ego coming into play, without going through the whole story, my ego was in play. I was trying to get back at those women he cheated with, but all I did was disrespect myself. I played myself.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I had love from his family, because they were really trying to lift me up and support me and surround me, and during that time, even though they were telling me these things, like, why are you still dealing with him? And like I said, trying to get back because I was hurt. But no, I just disrespected myself. I would absolutely not do that now. And I was much older. I mean, that was my first experience in older, you know, when I was supposed to be mature and know better. But trying to give someone a chance and all of that. But now I know better. I'm at a different journey on my life, in my life, in more of my spiritual, cosmic self, higher self. So yeah, there's just so many things I would not do ever again. So it's nice to have that awareness, the self-esteem, the security, the self-worth and self-love. You know, there's nothing like that. And I know people over the years were my mother, you know, trying to instill that in me, but there's certain things that you have to go through in life to come to this awareness, this epiphany, and that's it. So there's just certain things I don't allow. I see things now from you know, certain traits, certain characters, the red flags that we need to pay attention to. Yeah, I pay attention to those very much so now. Any type of trait or characteristic I see in someone that's like him,
nope,
no,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Absolutely. And you understanding that while those experiences weren't necessarily favorable experiences, that is what helped you be able to have the ultimate level of discernment and have the strongest set of boundaries, to where you could have still been rocking on the fence of not knowing your boundaries if you hadn't had those experiences, because you wouldn't be aware. So that awareness, the boundaries, and again, that clarity, like I said, you have just that different level of clarity in that sight. Beautiful that you can now be exactly who it is that you want to be and have that type of discernment. And so, Supernatural Cee, before we close out the show, we ended with you. What have you learned from the most foolish time, or one of the most foolish times?
I think never try and hold on to things, especially people grasping onto things. And there's been times of my life where I've humiliated myself. You know, I won't put that lightly, because I've got such a big heart and I don't want them. I might be considering someone else or whatever else, and I've begged people, don't go, or please stay, or whatever. And you see in those moments the power that you hand over. You see that person literally swell, do you know what I mean? And while you shrink in significance. And what the universe has shown me, what life has shown me, is that one leaves, another comes in, always. And whatever comes in is always better than what left. So when you try and hold on to things and grab onto things, you're stopping your own development, you know, because everything is a part of your own development. So I've come out of the guilt and shame of it. There were times in my life where I had a lot of guilt and shame about it, because I know I humiliated myself, and I watched them enjoy that humiliation and be empowered from it. And you know, that's hard to face in yourself. Like, you put your head right in the gutter. Do you know what I mean? You lay on the floor and let them on you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's it. Let people go. Others come in, and it's always all right.
Simple and light, but from some of the darkest places. What you said, one of the pieces so key, to face the acceptance of the humiliation that you allowed. Golly, sitting there looking at yourself, you about dumbed in them. And they said, okay, I'm sorry. I forgive you. It's all good. It's not good, but it's all good. Okay. Don't ever do that no more. But we're here now. And I know that had to have been something so not only heart-wrenchingly painful to go through, but one of the most liberating times finally once you were able to forgive yourself. So thank you not only for sharing that and putting that out there for people to hear, each and every one of you. I am Mary, Tone, Supernatural Cee, all of your voices, all of your opinions, your thoughts, your unique brains continue to transcend on absolutely amazing levels. And however far this reaches, the conversations that we have every month when we share them with the world, everyone remember that you never have to be the fool that you once were, because you're only a fool when you know and still don't choose better. Everybody knows the saying, if you know better, if you knew better, you do better. And I add the second part for the present. If you knew better, you do better. So if you know better, show better. Show it presently, right now. Because if you don't, then that's what makes you the fool. Not when you didn't know, but once you learn, will you continue to do the same things? Or will you, for 2025 terms, stand on business spiritually? Will you allow your soul to stand on that foundation? Because that's the business that you need to stand on. Your principles, your morals, your foundation, your wisdom, your education, your experience as your foundation that continues to grow you. And make sure that you are not the jester, that you are the king and the queen and the god and the goddess in your story. The jokes are for the jesters, and you're not the jester. You're not the fool. You're not the clown. So take off the nose and be that which you are. And with that being said, we end this show, this April show of Never the Fool, beautiful art, beautiful perspectives. And next month, we have so much more in store. Until next time, Ashe.
Ashe.